राम नारायण जानकी वल्लभम्। कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं भगवान खाते नहीं, बेर शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं, बेर शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। काम करते चलो नाम जपते चलो, काम करते चलो नाम जपते चलो, तुम श्री कृष्ण गोविंद गाते चलो, तुम श्री कृष्ण गोविंद गाते चलो। याद आएगी उनको कभी ना कभी, याद आएगी उनको कभी ना कभी, कृष्ण दर्शन तो देंगे कभी ना कभी, कृष्ण दर्शन तो देंगे कभी ना कभी, कृष्ण दर्शन तो देंगे अभी अभी। गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो, राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो, गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय, गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय, राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय, राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय। राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय। This is a doha, that's Indian type sonnet that has been written by uh, Saint Kabir. And the meaning of the doha is that normally for women, traditionally for women, their mother's house is somewhere that they are the most comfortable. And the mother's house is where normally, traditionally, women after marriage are pulled back towards. But he writes that even my own mom's house is not as comfortable for me anymore, because that's not where my beloved, that's the divine, resides. So he wants to go back to that place where his guru or his teacher or his divine, which is his beloved, resides. So that's the meaning of this doha. साई के नगर साई के नगर परम अति सुंदर अति सुंदर, जहाँ कोई आवे न जावे, जहाँ कोई आवे न जावे। चांद सूरज जहाँ, चांद सूरज जहाँ, पवन न पानी, पवन न पानी, को संदेशा पहुँचावे, को संदेशा पहुँचावे। दर्द यहाँ साई को सुनावे, नेहरवा नेहरवा नेहरवा, नेहरवा नेहरवा। बिन सत गुरु आपड़ो नहीं कोई, आपड़ो नहीं कोई। बिन सत गुरु आपड़ो नहीं कोई, आपड़ो नहीं कोई। जो यह राह बतावे, जो यह राह बतावे। कहत कबीरा सुनो भई साधो, सुनो भई सपने में प्रीतम आवे, तपन यहाँ, तपन यहाँ, तपन यहाँ, साए को सुनावे नैहरवा, 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 नैहरवा। And for the sake of equal representation, I will now be singing a Shiva bhajan. This is a chant, it's called Shivoham, which basically means I am Shiva. And it proceeds to say, I am Brahma, and I am also the truth within. I am the peace within Buddha, I am the truth, I am the purity. So it's basically a chant that celebrates our own higher self. Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Swarupo, Advaitamananda Rupam, Advaitamananda Rupam, Arupam, Brahmoham, Brahmoham, Brahma Swarupoham, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Swarupoham, Nityoham, Shuddhoham, Buddhoham, Muktoham, Nityoham, Shuddhoham, Buddhoham, Muktoham, Chidoham, Chidoham, Satchidanandoham, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Swarupoham, Brahma Swarupoham, Satchidanandoham. Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara. Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara. Gangadhar Har Shankara, Gangadhar Har Shankara, Gangadhar Har Shankara, Gangadhar Har Shankara. Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara, Shiva Shiva Shankara. Gangadhar Har Shankara, Gangadhar Har Shankara, Gangadhar Har Shankara, Gangadhar Har Shankara. Shiva Shiva Shankara, 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 Shiva Shiva Shankara.
Thank you so much, Krishna. What a beautiful voice you have. And my mother was just saying, you transported us to a whole other world, a whole
Thank you.
spiritual, blissful place. Thank you so much. Thank
Of course. Thank you.
you. We would like to now ask some of the family members to say a few words. Thank you for everyone who's graciously volunteered to speak. We have about 12 to 13 people that would like to say a few words in a minute or two. Um, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Ruchika. I'm the oldest grandchild of Shri Abhimanyu Nandkeolyar. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening to celebrate my Nana and the glorious life that he had in the 96 years that he lived in. And we had the opportunity to know him, such a wonderful person. We'll start with my sister, Deepika. If she would like to say a few words. We unmute you, Deepika.
Hello, everyone. Good evening and good morning, depending where you are. Um, I was trying to think what to say, and I really couldn't come up with much. I looked up some quotes to say, and they just seemed too little to describe what my Nanaji felt and was to us. So there are a few things I wanted to say that as I was sitting on this Zoom call, that I thought would be really nice. One is, looking at all of you, 1.60 plus people that have joined on Zoom for a 96-year-old who has passed away is a testament to my Nana's charisma and his influence on everybody he met. Everyone remembers him who has met him, including people from our childhood and all of you in the family. And all of us, loved him. Each one of you included him in conversations, in family gatherings, right till the end. Even, in his older years, he was always happy to, come to family gatherings, go outside, you know, have a few mithai, and enjoy his life. So thank you everyone for being such a great family. On a personal note, he was a very progressive Nana. So both my sister and I, we never felt that he differentiated between boys and girls. He always encouraged us to study, pursue technical fields. He would ask me all kinds of questions. When I was quite young, he asked me, tell me pi, what is pi up to 5 digits? And I had to, think about it. And he, even in our older years, I would say even till a few days ago, would ask us about work and advise us on things. And so, we just grew up with extreme love, surrounded always by his support. So we are extremely grateful that, he was with us all the years we grew up. And it was truly a blessing. So thank you.
Thank you, Deepika. Thank you for sharing. Next, I'd like to invite Shuktika, my cousin, Udyan Mama's daughter, to speak about her dada.
So, I have a few kind of childhood memories I was going to share about Dada. The first is that he, like Deepika Didi, always used to quiz us. And so I remember and probably many of you have heard this, how to get a bale of hay, a goat, and a tiger or a lion across a across a river without, in the fewest number of steps, without one eating the other. And my other memory I'd like to share of him was that he would always teach us sort of these strategy card games. So bridge was bridge was one of them, and I would remember that if you'd come to the U.S. and in Toledo in the summer, we would be, I usually like to watch Wimbledon or tennis over the summer, but he would make us sit and play card games. And so I remember playing with Dad and Meher and him, and I would always play with him because he was the best at it, but I was not good. So we would, he would lose patiently with me every time. So I just, he was a wonderful person to know and really influenced my life a lot.
Thank you, Shuktika, for sharing. Next, Mihir, Shuktika's brother Mihir, we'd like you to speak, please.
So many of my memories will echo those of both Deepika Didi and Ruchika Didi, but and Didi, I mean, and I used to remember, one of the fondest ones was, he used to come and visit Toledo during the summers, and as a 10-year-old kid, I'd look forward to school being over and I don't have to learn anything anymore. It's just summer's time to play, and Dada would come with a carom board or a chess board or something, and you think, okay, well, this is just a game, right? We get to play, and he would always teach me, oh no, if you hit at this angle and you bounce from here, then you can hit this piece in this pocket, and that's how you win. Of course, he would beat me all the time, but I would, learn from him, whether it was some better way to play chess, some better way to play carom. But he was always somebody who, no matter what conversation or game or whatever you had with him, you ended up learning something new. And he was always focused, like typically he said, on us, learning, getting educated, and even till the time that I luckily had recently, where I was able to see him a lot in India. He would constantly ask about work and what's new, and his mind never stopped going and never stopped challenging us. So those are that's kind of how I remember Dada.
Thank you, Mihir. Thank you for sharing. Of course, you and Shuktika spent so much time with Nana when he would come visit you all in America, and of course when you were here in India. I'd next like to invite Abha Mami, wife of our late beloved Udayan Mama, to also share some few words, please.
Namaste, everyone. I was looking for some quote or something to talk about Daddy, but there are no quotes that can compare the love and affection that Daddy gave it to us. So all I have to say is, that Daddy, आप हमेशा हमारे साथ रहेंगे. You will forever be with us. And I will always miss you. Your patience, your wisdom, and deep understanding of life's philosophy was unparalleled. You supported me at every step, and you taught me so many things in whatever time I was able to spend with you. I remember first time when I was going for my driving license, he taught me he gave me so many tips, how to pass the driving test, and I still remember that clearly. Whenever I would call him when he was in Bombay, we will talk for hours. And I was trying to sit down and see what we were talking. We would talk about politics, about life's philosophy, about all family members and all. And finally, the conversation will come to the Temple of Toledo and University of Toledo. And he will remember everybody's name. He will ask about the contribution that Udayanji had made to both University of Toledo and the Hindu temple. So then, I was just thinking that was our relationship. We had so many topics to talk that in the end, I would always say, "Acha daddy, hum phir aapko call karenge." So these are all the sweet memories, and I feel so blessed and so fortunate to have Daddy in my life. And I feel that I was his daughter-in-law, to whom he gave lot of love, affection, and care. And in the end, Daddy, I have to say that parents are the blessings of Almighty. So I am really fortunate, and I'm happy that I spent 21 years with Daddy as his daughter-in-law. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Abha Mami. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Dhannu Mama, who's a nephew and son of Nana's sister, Shama Nani, to say a few words, please.
MJ, just hold you back in the middle of this.
I think.
Here he is, I think.
Yeah. Dhannu Mama, if you'll unmute yourself, please. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult to talk about somebody who has touched your life so profoundly. Chotke Mama, as we used to call him, was such a loving person and so much full of life. We remember him as a very important part of our Nanihal, because whenever we had to go to Nana's place. Amma would say that Chutke Bhaiya is there. Then our enthusiasm will, double, because we knew that then we will be taken properly care of. When I was small, I used to ask Amma, why was he named Abhimanyu? Because in Mahabharat, we used to see, we had learnt about Abhimanyu, and Amma would say it is just a name, it's nothing. But as I grew up, I realized that the name suited him very much, because he has, like Mahabharat's Abhimanyu, he fought his many battles alone. And as we all know that Nana Nani were were very much involved in the freedom struggle, and perhaps not much of time they could give to their children. So but all of them came up so well. When I'm talking about Chutke Mama, then, we are.
Okay.
I'm also talking about the entire family. Whenever we used to sit together, we all, Badke Bhaiya, that is Azad Bhaiya. Azad Bhaiya, as you know, my uncle Shada Ranjan Sinha's son, and he had spent, in fact, he spent more time with Chutke Mama and Mami, and I think Gunjan when he was in Delhi, preparing for his civil services. And he was staying with Chutke Mama, Mami. And when he came back from Delhi after his preparation, then he told us something very interesting about the Chutke Mama household, and that was FHO. So we were surprised, what is FHO? That was, when on the dining table, something is running short, then somebody would say, someone from the family will say FHO, that means family hand off. So the family will stop eating and that will be left for the guest. That was something. Chutke Mama was a very big officer in railways, and that was, like something of a legend for us. We would always think that he can stop the engine, he can stop the train with the wave of his hand. And sometimes we had been given a tour of his coupe, where I remember having traveled once with him, although for a short distance, in his coupe. So we really used to love, discussing about Mama, and the way we used to learn from him. In fact, I would like to close this with what Azad Bhaiya has told me, which struck me as very true, that उनके साथ रहना education था. I mean, it was like a education, कि आप उससे उनके साथ रह के आप बहुत कुछ सीखते थे. उनके साथ रहना अपने आप में एक education था. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dhanu Mama. And you highlighted one such an important facet of Nana was his sense of humor. And I think you highlighted that. Everyone who knew him knows that he always had something funny to say. So thank you for sharing.
All the Sarans would know what FHO means. I think it's a very, very Saran thing.
Thank you, Dhanu Mama.
Yeah, thanks.
Next, I'd like to call on Ajit Mama, who's one of the oldest nephews of Nana. We'd like you to say a few words, please.
Thank you. Well, when you talk of Manu Chacha, and then certain images come to mind. The first time, I mean, I must have seen him when I was 3 or 4, but I don't remember. But the first time when I remember seeing him was I think in 1957, when he came to Delhi. He and Chachi came to Delhi, and they came to Mani Bhaiya's the Mani Bhaiya was there, Sunny Bhaiya, Daddy, and me. And he had just come back from France, and he walks into the to the dinner party wearing a bow tie and a little brown jacket, and he looked very smart in that, and he wished everyone in French, you know. So he walked. That was my first impression, and I must have been about 10 or 11 then. And after that, I interacted him or met him on several occasions in Calcutta when I was in college. And then in Delhi, when we used to go to Delhi, we used to stay with him, both in the railway colony, and then he had a flat near the museum, and then in Bombay. But there are certain images which always come because he had many facets to his personality. And he had he had that wicked smile on his face when with a tremendous sense of humor, and which was deceptive, but but very sharp intellect, and he would get to the crux of things in a matter of seconds. So these are the images which I remember of him. And then, of course, once I remember he came to Gaya in his railway saloon, and my eldest uncle Ramchandra Chacha was there, who always wanted to join the railways but never made it. And Ramchandra Chacha was always a little envious of the fact that his younger cousin had made it. So we all went to the saloon to see it. And I was very impressed. I said, you got everything out here. And so he tells me, we have everything, but it all comes from the railway station. We can't order the food that we like, And then once he was traveling from Delhi to Nagpur, and you cross the Chambal Valley, and he was saying that there were some defense officers who wanted security and defense on that route. So he said, well, you're the defense personnel. You're supposed to provide the protection, and not me from the railways, So he was very interesting, very simple, and he explained things in a very lucid manner. So these are the images which I take back, the memories I have of him. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit Mama. Would Shilu Mami like to say a few words too?
Okay, let me ask her.
Okay.
Here she is.
Hi, Gunjan and Ruchika.
Hello, Mami.
And I have only very, very fond memories of Chacha. On several occasions, I've stayed with Gunjan, and somehow Manu Chacha was always a part of the house. And what always touched me was his wonderful simplicity, his wonderful sense of humor, and his affection, which was always quite overwhelming. And I think it was delightful just to be with him. And I don't know what more to add because everybody has said everything about him.
No.
And it's impossible to go on elucidating more on that.
No, thank you so much for sharing, Shilu Mami. I know you spent a lot of time with Nana, so appreciate you sharing some kind words.
My pranams to him, and it was always an absolute privilege to be with him, Ruchika.
Thank you, Shilu Mami. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to call Vicky Mama, who I believe is a walking encyclopedia of the Nandkeolyar clan. I think the Nandkeolyars will agree. Vicky Mama, I think, yeah, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak. In the last decade or so, I've spent quite a lot of time with Manisha. Wise Owl 79. I don't know how many people remember that name that he gave himself when the era of email started and he had to create a name for himself. he called himself Wise Owl 79. And that name is stuck with me. Whenever I used to think of him, whenever I used to meet him, I always used to think of him as Wise Owl 79. The wonderful part of Manucha was that he got along with all ages. You know, he got along with children, he got along with seniors, he got along with nincompoops like me, and he came down to our level of intellect. I would say so that given the intellectual giant that he was, he would come down to the level of people and make them feel that he's a part of them. And this is something, a characteristic I've never seen with anyone anywhere. And end of the day, people have spoken about his sense of humor, his everything. Just a small anecdote that just came to my mind. I can go on and go on and on and on. But I remember one incident when he was the general manager, Central Railway, sitting at VT station. And there was a cousin of mine who went to him for help in getting tickets. And then over the next 15 days, he changed that ticket several times. And each time he would go, Manucha would smile and tell his assistant, I'm forgetting his name, Shivulal or something like that, I'm forgetting his, and that guy would go and change the ticket. So when it happened for the nth time, Manucha called us in and said, sit down. And he was organizing the ticket. And then he turns and tells my cousin, आपकी शादी हुई है? So that guy said, नहीं, अभी नहीं हुई है. जिस तरह से आप अपना mind change करते हैं ना, जल्दी भी नहीं होगी. Okay, and we laughed and laughed and laughed. And that's who he was. He cut that person to size, told him very clearly that, look, I don't like you coming like this. But he did it so humorously. He did it so well. And now when I look back at that picture between Gunjandi and Ruchika with that twinkle in his eye, I can imagine him sitting and telling himself, hey, look what's happening. And taking a lot of joy and fun in this whole situation. That there are 50, 60 people sitting around and talking about me. And he'll say, do they really need to talk about me? Am I that important? Manucha, physically you may not be here, but every time I'll meet people from your family, and when we talk about you, there'll be so many things to say, so many things to talk about, and that you live on forever. I always used to think you will be immortal. I met you last 6 months ago. COVID didn't allow me to meet you recently. But the last when I met you on your birthday, you're mentally alive, you're physically alive, all faculties intact, sense of humor, everything going. And I thought you're going to go on and on and on and on and on. The Bhishma Pitama of the Nandkeolyar family. But then all things come to an end, physically, but spiritually and in memories, you're always going to be there, Manucha. We'll remember you always. Thank you so much, Gunjandi, Ruchika, Deepika, for allowing me to speak on an occasion such as this. Thank you.
Absolutely, Vicky Mama. Thank you so much for such a beautiful speech. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to invite Shruti, granddaughter of my Nana and daughter of Sudhakar Mama and Ragini Mami. Shruti.
Pranam, everyone. I think for me, one of my oldest memories of Dada is when he visited Alwar. And I don't think I would have been older than 7 or 8 years at that time. And, for him to develop a link with all the kids, he had actually kept our names for that visit. So, Didi was Eswati, I was Shurturtur. I think Mummy's name was also there. It was Sarangi. And he was making sure he was calling us by that name and that visit. I mean, I think I'll add to what Vicky Chacha said, that he had the ability to connect with everyone. I mean, he used to find a way to connect with everyone. The last time I met him, I think it was around 3-4 years back. Even at that time, he came. He was weak, but he came. He sat with us, and he actually asked Didi and me what we were doing. He heard us patiently, and he actually asked us about, he asked us questions, further questions on everything that we were, telling him about. So one person, I mean, one of the very unique qualities was he could link himself with just everybody. Like he saw 4 generations, all four generations literally, you know, associated themselves with him so closely. So I think a brilliant quality, and I think we'll all miss him for that for sure.
Thank you, Shruti. Thanks for sharing. And he certainly had a nickname for everyone. Deepika and I, of course, were Sonu Monu, and Radha, Rita, and a whole bunch of other names. So.
And all his Saran Sali, Numa, Sases, who all of them, he used to call them also, they were like they were Salis, but they were actually his Sas.
Oh, that's nice. Brilliant person.
Thank you, Shruti. Next, I'd like to invite Balmiki. He is grandson-in-law, married to Shublu Masi's daughter, Nupur. So yes, Val, I know you spent a lot of time with Nana whenever you came to Bombay. You always had long conversations with him.
Right. I consider myself the privileged one. Good evening and pranam to everybody. First of all, Ruchika, thank you so much for organizing this. We wanted to be in person because of my sheer love for Nanaji and the pleasure I had of my association with him. But because of the extraordinary times we could not, that we are currently in, that's the reason why we could not make. And I also like the fact that today's meeting is a celebration of his life. And it's a wonderful thing for you to say, because while all of us, while all of us, we are all bodies and we have a soul, I found Nanaji as somebody who was a soul who also had a body. So it was very different for me. And one of the reasons that I always wanted to visit Kolaba and Masi's house whenever I was in Bombay, even in my official trips, was because of the fact that, and I'm going to let you know that secret to all of you, in my life, I have never seen any of my grandfathers. So I found my grandfather in him. And it was such a pleasure to interact with him. I remember, and I met him when he was already had crossed his 90th birthday. On one such occasion, I wanted to gift something to him, and Masi told that try it. He doesn't take it, and he may not want to go out. And I was insisting that let's go out. So I did present a gift to him, and to my utter pleasure, I would say, and a privilege, he actually wore the shirt and he went to the US club. It was such a pleasurable moment for us that he could honor me with that. Uh, Another bit of an anecdote was Nanaji's range of knowledge was so wide that jokingly I used to tell Nupur that he has so much of experience that the history that we study was actually his current affairs. So he had so much of wisdom, and then we could connect on multiple things. For example, Kolkata, railways, banking. He used to love watching news channels, and I have a love for watching news channels. So we used to spend hours watching the news channel together and discussing. And of course, a little bit of Baliganj and his time in the railways. So it was a pleasurable moment. I had a wonderful time. And just to conclude, Ruchika, as you said in the beginning, the reason why we need to celebrate souls is because they don't leave us, they just are around us. We just need to feel them from time to time. So I believe Nanaji is with us and he will continue to remain with us.
Thank you, Val.
That's
Thank
my
you
2
so much.
cents.
Very well said. Thank you. Thank you.
We almost done.
Okay, we're on to our last speaker, and if anyone would like to speak, we got requests from some people, but if anyone would like to speak, just message us or raise your hand. We'll get you after the last person on our list, and that is Dolly Masi. Last but not least, I'd like to invite Dolly Masi, who is apparently a universal Masi. Just like her mother, Lali Bua, who was my Nani's Bua, was everyone's Bua. She's the universal Dolly Masi. So, Dolly Masi.
Hi, everyone. People have said so many wonderful things about my dear Bhai Sahib. So I have to add just a few incidents of my childhood. in the 60s. So I go back to that time. My dad had brought back a Sony reel-to-reel tape recorder from Japan, which was quite a great novelty at that time. Bhai Sahib wanted to be the first to record his voice. And what a phenomenal memory he had. He filled the entire reel with a moving rendition of Harvansh Rai Bachchan's Madhushala. The reel finished, but not his rendition. He just went on and on. Then there was another cute little incident. When we were small, we go back a very long time, Bhai Sahib and all of us. At times, he had a naughty sense of humor, and he enjoyed teasing us all, especially the kids. And while playing Scrabble, his favorite trick was to turn over a tile so that it seemed to be a blank while using it. When he would be caught out, he would get so surprised and act innocent. And those were such wonderful days. I will always have lovely memories of him. And even till now, we've been so much in contact and had so much good times together. Bye, Bhai Sahib. You'll always be with us in our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Dolly Masi. Nana always had to cheat in cards. That was his thing. Always so full of fun and, zest for life, always. Okay, anyone else would like to speak before we hand it back to Krishna to conclude the session for today? Okay, I think Krishna, if you are still here, there she is, yes. I'm going to ask you to unmute. So back to Krishna to wrap up the session for today.
Definitely. I couldn't think about a more apt way to conclude this session on the heels of what everybody said here about the immortality of the soul, and that Abhimanyu, how he is still here within everybody's hearts. I would like to conclude by chanting the 15th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The summary of the chapter in just a few words is that Bhagavan Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna to go forth and fight, because there are two levels on which a human being lives according to Lord Krishna. One is the body that one sees, and the other is the ethereal, immortal part that we all have. And the higher self lives on while we transmigrate from this body to the next, or even while living with this within the body. That is the one thing to know. He is the knower, and he is the meaning within the Vedas as well. That's the summary of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Shri Bhagavanuvacha ऊर्ध्वमूलमधशाखम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययं छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित् अधश्चोध्वं प्रसृतास्तस्य शाखा गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवालाः अधश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके न रूपमस्येह तथोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलं मत्सङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन छित्त्वा ततः पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यं यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी निर्मानमोहाजितसङ्गदोषा अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामाः द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ताः सुखदुःखसंज्ञैर्गच्छन्त्यमूढाः पदमव्ययं तत् न तद्भासयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति शरीरं यदवाप्नोति यच्चाप्युत्क्रामतीश्वरः गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयात् श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च रसनं घ्राणमेव च अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायं विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जानं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः यतन्तो नोगचेष्टैनं पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यविस्थितं यतन्तोऽप्यकृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यन्त चेतसः यदादिद्गतं तेजो जगद्भासयतेऽखिलं यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नौ तत्तेजो विद्धि मामकं गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधिः सर्वाः सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्तः पचामन्यं चतुर्विधम् सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनञ्च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहं द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेतृदारुतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्य ईश्वरः यस्माक्षरमतीतोऽहमक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथितः पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेव सम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रमिदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृश्च भारत.
Thank you once again, Krishna. You did a wonderful job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone who joined us today. Thank you for joining and sharing the wonderful stories and being a part of this celebration of Nana's life. Thank you so much. Thank you.